So today we're talking to Mark and Mary Ann Boenker, correct?
Correct.
And the reason we're here is because Mark grew up in Bridgeton, is that right?
Yes.
Mark, will you tell us your full name?
Mark Edward Banker.
And you are
Mary Ann Boenker. My maiden name was Bangert.
Beck. And did you also grow up in Bridgeton?
I think it was Bridgeton. That was considered Bridgeton, wasn't it? I was 2 hills over from him. On the
I think
south
that may have
side.
been considered Robertson or Pattonville.
Yeah. It was where the new Pattonville High School is. I was up the back behind it, up on the hill there,
Oh, okay.
above Fred Weber Quarry.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that was probably about the same, Bridgeton.
And Mark, you grew up in Bridgeton. Can you tell us exactly where you grew up?
Yeah, we grew up on the eastbound Old Highway 40,
Which is,
which is now, used to be Old St. Charles Rock Road, and it was switched to Banker Lane.
was
There was
named
the-
after
it
your
was-
family?
Do what?
Was it named after your family?
Later, yes.
Then where did you go to school?
St. Mary's, St. Lawrence, and Pattonville High School.
I see. And did you meet at Pattonville High School?
No, I went to school at the Academy of the Sacred Heart in St. Charles.
Oh, okay. Well, how did you meet?
I lived right next door to his grandparents. And he was, actually his sister Christy was in the newspaper for some sports affiliation, and my dad read about her and said, I want to get her to join the track team he started,
Oh.
Ozark track team. So my dad called her up and asked her to be a part of our track team, and she and I used to go to the track meets together. And she introduced me to her brother.
Didn't she introduce you to the rest of the brothers as well?
Oh, well, yeah, I used to spend the night there. He
There
was
was
my
only one
age.
deserving.
He's my age.
I'm sorry, I was just kind of. Well, first of all, tell us about your family. We know there's more than one brother and sister, so can you tell us the lineup of your family?
Yes, I got 3 older sisters, 3 younger brothers, and 3 younger sisters. Starting with Mary, Jenny, Christy, Mark, Matt, John, Luke, Roseanne, and Lucy.
I
That's the
see.
lineup.
So you are kind of like in the middle of the lineup.
4th one down, oldest son.
So when you were born, your family had been living there on the farm for how long?
I think they moved there in 50 or 51. Because I think I was the first one born there.
I see.
Yeah.
So what are your earliest, when you think about growing up there and being up on the hill and looking around, what do you remember it to look like for the most part?
Mostly country,
Okay.
and it just got worse.
What do you mean worse? In what way worse?
Oh, the buildings, progress. Used to be able to shoot in any direction, and then it got narrower and narrower fields of shooting lanes. And then it was abolished, you couldn't hunt there anymore. And I don't know, industry moved into the Earth City was developed, and it was Highway 70 came in while I was there. Interstate, that cut our road off to our grandpa's house, the back road. So it was, just a series of production, or what do you call that,
Civilization?
civilization moving in around us. It was a good time.
When you went to school, you went to school, you said at St. Mary's, right?
That was from kindergarten to 3rd grade. And then 4th to 8th grade in St. Lawrence, and then
Did your parents take you to school or did you walk
No,
to
bus.
school? There was a bus?
Oh, yeah. Bus to St. Mary's and bus to St. Lawrence, and then a bus to Pattonville High School.
I see. Did you, so as you were growing up, what kind of activities did you do? Did you do anything outside of school as far as,
No sports. Mainly just help my dad after school.
and what kind of work was that?
Mechanic and welding and repair work. And then through my high school years, I worked for one of the farmers, H.D. Lambert.
Oh,
And he lived down on Missouri Bottom Road and Ferguson Lane. I worked
Okay.
for him for 4 years during high school.
and what kind of work did you do for him?
Farm.
So you did that
Ran
like,
tractors and disced and plowed and cut wheat with the combine.
so that was like after school or weekends?
After school and weekends, 2-day weekends.
Did your other brothers do that sort of work also?
They worked for my dad, they didn't farm.
So did all your brothers learn, including yourself, how to do all the machinery and?
2 of them did. One of them didn't. Matthew, he was more of a PR man, I'd say.
He wanted to fly too.
Oh yeah. I don't know if he ever got off the ground, did he?
Can we bring in the son? You have a son here with you today. Can we bring him over here to have a shot?
It's
Sure.
up to him.
I have to stoop down.
He won't fit.
Can you take a still picture of them also? And you are son number 1 or 2?
I'm number 3.
Ah, number 3, your
Yes.
son, and your name
Come over
is?
here, Pete. And then you'd be in line.
See how big he is?
Yes. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Are you married?
No.
Okay, can you move just a little bit closer? Thank you.
Right.
Am I in the picture, Joe?
I don't know yet.
Pardon me?
You were an old Bridgeton inhabitant
Yeah, I
in diapers.
was there for like 13 months.
Oh, so you probably don't remember much about growing up in Bridgeton.
No.
So you grew up where we are sitting now, which is considered what county?
Warren.
Warren County.
Yeah.
Mhm. Have you been back over to see your dad's place where you grew up?
Well, I used to spend the summers out there
Did
working with
you?
Grandpa, and then sometime working in the shop there in Bridgeton for my uncles Luke and John, and helped out with Grandpa working on the farm, to roses, the grapes, hoeing and tilling and all that stuff, and cutting grass.
I see. And you have 2 other brothers?
Yeah.
Are they older or younger?
2 older brothers, Sam and Dan.
Okay. Did they also come in to work with you during the summers or?
Not with me. We were spaced apart so much that they were busy elsewhere, but I'm sure they did spend their time sometimes there.
I think they all spent an
Yeah.
apprenticeship with Grandpa.
By the way, his name is Peter. Pete.
What did the other 2 boys?
Samuel and Daniel. Samuel was named after Uncle Sam Branke. Pete was named after Uncle Pete. Actually, his real name was Kenneth Boenker. And that would have been Ed's brother.
Okay.
So they're all
Yeah,
special.
Uncle Sam was Pete and my dad's first uncle.
Right.
Whose real name was Henry.
Henry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody had to use their own names.
Well, they did, but some of them just got nicknames.
Like Monkey Shine.
Now, what kind of work do you do? Are you going to school or what?
I was going to school for a little while. Now I'm in the Air Force.
Oh, are you? Okay. Where are you stationed?
There in Bridgeton, Lambert.
Oh, right. So let's talk a little bit about Mary Ann. Mary Ann, where did you grow up?
I grew up, I first started in Berkeley. My dad had a house right next to his mom and dad. And then we moved to Bridgeton when I was 6 and a half, so 1958, and lived there until I was married to Mark, and I loved it. It was like his upbringing, house planted in the midst of lots of fields.
But you were up on top of a big hill too.
Right, just like his folks, yeah. Like I said, we were 2 hills away from each other.
Actually, there was only one hill between us,
Really?
where she lived.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, I was on the second hill then. But he used to walk underneath the Highway 70 to come see me, and then jump in the puddle jumper he built up there at his grandpa's and drive to my house.
What's a puddle jumper?
That was an old '53 Chevy, with a Chevrolet car with I don't know, it was just barely running, and I resurrected it and made that's what she nicknamed it.
The puddle jumper, yeah. Anyway, let's see. I went to Sacred Heart for 13 years. I have 4 sisters, no brothers.
Are you the oldest or
No,
youngest?
I'm number 2.
Okay.
Sharon, Marianne, Betsy, Barbara, and Celia. And my mom and dad decided they really wanted us to go to the academy, so we all went there until it closed. My 3 younger sisters had to go to Pattonville. Well, they were fine with that. I mean, it was such a change, though. We were in a world of women, you know, no boys. We didn't have any neighbors. So, you know, Pattonville was an extreme change for them.
When you went to Pattonville, was that still on the Rock Road or had it moved?
Actually, I never did. I was one of the last graduating class. But Betsy did, Celia and Barbara, they did go to the old one.
Mhm.
Yeah, the new one hadn't been built yet. That would have been in our backyard. But, yeah, it was an idyllic place to grow up.
So what was around there? Was Northwest Plaza there while you were growing up?
Northwest Plaza was there. I learned to drive going down Old St. Charles Rock Road to the plaza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you like to shop there?
Yeah, I wasn't much of a shopper. I'm an odd bird as far as that goes. Go get it and come back home.
Mm-hmm.
Northwest Plaza didn't get started until about '67 or '8.
That's true.
About when we were married.
Right, that's when it took off, because that was just a farm ground, and there was a steel yard right there along the Rock Road, across the street from Pattonville High School.
Uh-huh.
Now I heard there was a dairy farm on that ground. Do you remember anything about that?
No, I don't remember a dairy farm. That was on the other end of the airport that I remember a dairy farm.
I thought somebody told us there was a dairy farm there.
No, that was Champ's Dairy Farm. No, I don't believe there was one there. I don't think. Because George Weber, did you interview him yet?
No.
No.
You need to.
Yeah.
He was at your
because
house the other day, wasn't
No, he was at the.
He was at the wake.
for
Gary
Gary.
Wake.
he? Oh, okay, yeah.
But no, I don't believe there was a dairy farm there. And some of that ground that sold to
Northwest Plaza.
Northwest Plaza was Weber's ground. He'd be able to fill you in on that dairy farm too.
Well, I think, wait a minute, I think 2 of the ladies interviewed somebody named George Weber, so maybe he was interviewed,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't us.
Mm.
But I remember that name in one of our meetings,
Mhm.
so I think maybe somebody,
Well,
they
you-
had.
He was one of 2 people that used to visit Mark's dad practically every day,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in later years. And so I think they must have been best buddies.
Yeah, they were. He was younger than Dad.
You know.
He went to school with Pete Boenker, Kenneth, Dad's brother.
Uh-huh.
Tell them the story your mom used to tell about George Weber coming to the store.
Oh
But
yeah,
tell 'em about the
my
store.
mother and Dad owned a grocery store on Fifi Road when Dad got out of the service. He saved enough money in the service, which I'm sure that story's out, isn't it? How he made money in the
Oh, photography?
Yeah.
photography and making jewelry.
Well, I don't think it's been told.
No,
to
I
us.
have never heard
Yeah,
it.
But he cut film out of the. He had a buddy in the aircraft part of the Navy that took surveillance pictures
Mhm.
of And Dad talked him out of several rolls of that big film. Dad said it was like 18 inches. It was still picture film.
Yeah.
But Dad would cut it down and make it fit his Brownie camera that he snuck over to the island.
Mhm.
And he would take pictures of the troops,
Yeah.
and they could send them home to their girlfriends or parents or whatever. And then he also made jewelry out of the coins that were available from the natives that they used to trade with. And
Your dad did all this.
he accumulated the sum of, I think, $7,000
Oh, wow.
while he was in World War II.
Wow.
And I remember Mom saying that he'd send this money home, and my mother and my mother's mother said, "Oh, that Eddie is quite a gambler."
They thought he was gambling?
Yeah, they didn't know how he was acquiring this money. And Mom just saved it all, naturally. And when they got out, they bought Art's grocery store with that money. And he was a grocer, butcher, and sold hardware there too.
And they had a residence in the same.
And there was a residence upstairs. That's where Mary Jenny Christie,
And what was your mother's maiden name?
Helen Bazan.
Say it again.
Helen Bazan.
Bazan.
So anyway,
So where
they
were
had
we
the
going
grocery
with it?
store, and do tell that your father
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
Dad-
first.
Dad had the first grocery store that when Archie Noel had it, his brother-in-law, it was, you come up to the counter and gave the list to the clerk, and she went and got all your groceries and brought them back to you. But Dad, when he reopened the store after he bought it, he had a sign out in front that said, all our needs are on our shelves, just shop around and help yourself. The first store as you know it today.
It's like a self-service.
Yeah.
Just like it was
Yeah.
today.
And did he make the shopping carts himself, or baskets, or what?
I think everybody just came in with a basket and
Mhm.
filled their baskets,
So anyway, little tiny George Weber comes up to the counter,
Yeah.
the deli counter.
Well, he was only like 7 years younger. But, Mom worked at that store during the war years
Oh,
for
okay.
her sister.
Okay.
And he'd throw a nickel on there and he'd want a nickel's worth of bologna. Mom said he couldn't hardly, he would throw that, he could look up to the counter but he couldn't see over it. He'd throw a nickel up there and I want a nickel's worth of bologna.
I wonder how much you got for a nickel.
That's a long time ago during World War II.
A couple pounds, imagine.
Now, your mother and father were married before the war?
I would imagine.
They got married right before.
Well, before
was
he went
shipped
overseas.
Overseas,
They were
yeah.
married in 42, so the war was already on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were at the movies. I remember Mom saying when there was a flash across,
Uh-huh.
the movie screen
Yeah.
went blank, and they said that Pearl Harbor was.
Bombed, yeah.
They were in a movie theater when
Mhm.
they found out about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess they weren't married then. They
Yeah.
were just dating.
He did his basic training somewhere, was it on the West Coast?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought the Navy went to the West Coast. But anyway, they decided to get married before he was shipped off.
Were you in the military?
Mm-mm.
Were any of the brothers? Your brothers in the
Matthew.
military?
Matthew.
Oh, okay. What branch did he go into?
All of the above.
Matthew was in Navy.
Navy,
Mhm.
and did he work for the Army for a while?
Well, he retired from the Navy as a commander, and
Yeah.
he worked over on Goodfellow for the
Army.
Aviation Systems
Oh,
Command,
okay.
but which was a Army multi-service
Mm-hmm.
operation, and they moved that whole operation to Huntsville, Alabama,
I see.
from Goodfellow, and hundreds of people moved from St. Louis to Huntsville to follow that activity.
Didn't know that part.
Were any of your sisters in the military?
Yeah, Christy.
Okay, what branch was she in?
She was
WAC.
a WAC,
Which was,
Women's Army Corps.
where did she serve, do you know?
She never went overseas. I can't remember if.
I remember
Sean,
she
did
went
you-
to nursing school down at Fort Lee, Virginia. We went to visit her one time. Jenny and I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's
she graduated out of somewhere in Florida because we went there to see her graduate.
Yeah.
from basic training.
Now, is Christy the one older than you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
They buddied together. The two of them played together.
because they're close in age.
Yeah, and personalities. Yeah,
And you,
outdoorsy.
and you said she's the one that your dad wanted to be on the track team?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
more. Okay, the picture. So you were going to Sacred Heart and you went to Pattonville
Uh-huh.
growing up.
Uh-huh.
And you were doing a track?
Track, yeah. I was the national discus champion for 12-year-olds.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
And then, let's see. Well, my parents
That
are
was
in
the
music.
attraction.
Oh yeah, that was it. Music was another hobby.
Okay, tell me about that, the
Both
music.
my parents are singers. And
Oh.
so he's gonna get going.
Thank you for joining us.
Mhm.
That's great.
Yeah, my parents are singers and they're still alive.
What kind of music do they sing?
Well, light opera and
Wow.
well, they did a lot of things like Sound of Music. And
Oh, how fun.
of course, us 5 girls had to play the parts of the whole thing. And
What about your Anders sisters?
oh yeah, we
The
Pulled
40s
that
period
off.
music.
yeah. My sisters and I, we all try and sing together whenever we can.
Now you do?
Well, you know, there's one in Seattle, and well, all of us are. The other 4 are here out in the west part of St. Louis County. But yeah, our parents are in the retirement home, so we go there and sing.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's nice. What about your children? Do any of them sing?
Oh, our middle son Daniel, he used to. He played the banjo. And he's got a good voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his top priority right now,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. But other than that, I think
Dan
my-
was in the military too, wasn't he?
Yes, he's Air Force. He did 4 years in the Air Force. Served in Desert Storm. Was that Desert Storm?
Sounds
No.
right.
Up in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Iraqi Freedom, that's it.
He went to Jordan.
Yeah, he served in Jordan. Crew chief on the C-130. He has his father's abilities with mechanics.
So you, getting back to Mark, so you grew up helping your father in the machine shop and farming also at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? And you enjoyed hunting, obviously, because you were talking about that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of animals do you remember hunting in Bridgeton while it was still, before, too much was built?
Oh, they're just small game. Doves and dove season, quail season, rabbit season, and squirrels. There was quite an abundance.
Well, every once in a while, there are deer around in the area, and wild turkeys are around in that area, right?
Now, but back then there wasn't any
Really?
deer or turkey in the area. When I was in my teens and such, you had to go away from St. Louis County to get deer.
Oh,
Deer just have come there in the past, I don't know, 10, 12 years.
oh.
And turkeys also, they were replanted here.
Well, what year did you, get married?
1975.
And where did you marry? Where was
We
it?
married at St. Blaise. That was my parish. Actually, St. Blaise started in the old Penn Junction School.
Oh,
My mother used to set up the altar cloths and all that in the gymnasium there. And then they built the church down off of Parkwood Lane. And that's where we were married in 75. And he and I moved into the barn that his parents had built on the property. And we lived there 13 years, up in the apartment.
you did.
upstairs. Yeah, for 13 years.
And did you live there because it was convenient, or you just,
Yeah, he could walk to work.
because you were
The
working,
rent was good too. Worked my rent off.
you were working with your father then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had built a new shop and it's a good enterprise.
And you, at that time, did you work then?
I did. I was working with Dr. Fred Simowitz, and then I was planning on having children, so I decided to, work for Ed, and I did his books
Oh,
and got pregnant. And after 3 children, I just didn't have time to balance his checkbook anymore.
no?
Well, I did it for a while, but anyway, yeah, that's where I worked.
So you lived on the Boenker premises for 13 years?
Yes.
So that barn was purpose-built with that apartment upstairs though, right? That wasn't an afterthought.
No, I put the apartment in.
Mhm.
That was just a hay shed up above.
It
It
originally was?
originally was, yeah, they had
Did it
to
ever
clear
have
it
hay
out.
in it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
It had hay and spare starter and alternator parts.
Alternators, yeah.
Starters and alternators and generators.
Okay.
And we only took half of the upstairs because
Uh-huh.
Dad didn't want to lose all of his storage area. And then I finally talked Dad out of the rest of it, because that was only 1,200 square feet. We only had 600 to live on first.
Well, so it was enough for you too eventually, but,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or initially, but when you had kids,
Yeah,
you needed more room.
right.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
We didn't have children until 3 years after being married.
So your first one was born what year?
1978.
Okay, so year my daughter was born.
Oh.
What do you remember when you were living up there now? Just, kind of thinking about living there and opening your eyes and seeing what was around. What do you remember, thinking about maybe the businesses that are there now and how it was different?
Gas station on the corner up there, right under the highway.
Actually, pretty much the businesses that are still there, except for Swanner's. I think he closed up. He had an auto repair shop, but he closed.
Is that the place right across the street?
No.
Where Rock Road and 270 come together, you're talking about, right?
No.
McKelvey
that's,
Road.
McKelvey,
Where,
farther up the rock.
Oh, okay.
McKelvey and the Rock Road.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And just past that was an apple orchard where you used to go rabbit hunting all the time.
Yeah,
Whose was that?
McNamee.
McNamee's. I remember that. That was rustic and beautiful.
No, I guess it really didn't start changing until the
DePaul Hospital.
fall and.
We were around before DePaul was built, and he was good friends with Dr. Vandover. And that house was one of the originals with the slave quarters, and downstairs had a wine making, or seems like there was something downstairs to alcoholic beverages. But he gave us that piano. It's a circa 1901
Oh, maybe Joe ought to
Bush and Gertz.
Turk changed the,
My cantering.
And his house was
It was
more or less where the Taco Bell is, only further.
Straight
back
across
off.
from the bank.
Right across from the bank.
yeah.
His driveway and the bank driveway.
Yeah, but he had a long driveway though,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and do note that the stool does not match the piano. He said, "You may have this piano if you'd like," and it took us like 4 years to get it to our establishment there up on the hill in the
Oh.
barn. And he, in that time, sold the piano stool because it had the ball
he
feet
sold
with the
it.
glass. Somebody wanted it.
Paw and ball feet.
Lucky he didn't start selling the keys off on it.
why don't you turn the camera over
Oh,
there?
I'll just get some stills.
It's not that great a
The,
piano to look at, but
yeah,
it's
it's-
pretty cool to know it's,
What year do you think it's from?
oh, it's 1901.
Okay.
I had a wonderful piano reconstructor.
Tuner.
What was his name? He had 9 kids, and anyway, he said this is where it's from and the year. So I know he was right in his answer there.
We have a piano in the Payne Gentry house. Have you seen it? I'm trying to remember the piano tuner's name that they took.
Polish?
Gosh, I remember the man that did the woodwork was Mr. Tillicek. I remember his name right now. I'm having a hard time remembering the piano guy's name. And anyway, it's a box piano.
Oh, yeah.
And they found legs of the piano up in the attic when they were refurbishing the house. And they took one of these, Mr. Merkel, that's what his name.
Merkel.
Yeah, apparently it was South St. Louis. And he said he would have a piano that would match. So he donated the piano
That's
to the Payne
nice.
Gentry house on one condition, that nobody play it, because he said those boxed out pianos didn't carry a very good tune.
Oh, very good.
But we have original sheet music from Mary Lee Payne.
Nice.
Yes.
Now, what circa is that? 1800s?
She was born in 1869, and probably in about
Right at the
18.
Civil War.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. Well, his Dr. Vandover's family, it was his wife's home, I think.
Yeah, and they were Brandis's.
The Brandis home.
I remember that name.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was
He married into the Brandis farm.
But he was a widower. Widower? I don't know the difference.
The woman is the
Who
widow.
was
Yeah.
Payne Gentry? She was there before it was Bridgeton, wasn't she?
Yeah, they lived there. Like their family came from the Chesterfield area because of that great flood that came, and so they bought property from that Spanish Lambert grant. And her mother, Mary Elizabeth's mother, lived there, and she parceled out the land to her different children, and a lot of those names, and streets were named after them, like Avery and Long and so forth. I'm surprised they didn't have a Gentry name in our Bridgeton streets,
Yeah, that's true.
So did you remember when the community center was built? Do you remember that being built and changed over from the one area to the newer place? Do you
I
remember
don't
that?
remember the old one, but yes, I brought my children to see Santa Claus, and I think they had a preschool.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
they did. They used to-
Our oldest son did go to the preschool there.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Do you remember going to a play there that I think Anna performed in and Gertrude Lucas directed?
No.
It was on,
Sounds scary.
That's scary, but that one room that has a stage in it.
Oh,
right?
yes.
And they,
yes.
and they had curtains on it and everything.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
I thought maybe you had gone to that.
I missed out on that. I was busy with family. I do remember having Anna come up during high school and get her papers checked over by me. I used to help with their homework.
Math?
Pardon me?
Math?
Not as much as English.
English?
Yeah, that was more my forte. But
Now Anna is,
one of his sisters. The three younger ones were little when we were married and living in the barn. So it was one big happy family. We had horses downstairs for landlords, sometimes pigs, lots of chickens,
Cow.
a cow. Yes.
They got together and bought Helen a cow for her 60th birthday, I think, didn't they?
Oh, was it that long ago?
I think so.
That early? I thought it was, maybe it was her 60th. But they wanted to go on a trip and they asked me to learn how to milk it. So I did. And I loved it. It was fun because you can't just leave a cow, if it's got to be milked.
yeah.
But I remember watching her pull away the cream.
Now, who is this?
Helen,
His mother.
his mother.
But didn't Lucy do most of that?
Yeah, she did. But I think she was going on this little weekend trip, so I learned how to do it. And it became one of my great gifts because I went to visit my folks when they moved to California. And one of the contests at the
Disneyland.
it wasn't
No,
Disneyland.
not Great Farm.
Knott's Berry Farm was milk a cow, and the fastest milker gets this award of jam.
Uh-huh.
And I'm 8 months pregnant. I don't know how to do that. Thank you, Helen.
That's cute. We went to Knott's Berry Farm when we were out, so I know the
Yeah.
place. It was a neat place
Yes.
out there at Knott's Berry Farm.
But it was a kind of an area where you could do the old time functions of life. He used to cut off the chicken heads and help his mom, pluck and all that stuff, and gather eggs. The kids were all in charge of that. And It just was a wonderful farm-like feeling. We went fishing a couple times, and there was
Where's that? Where, fishing where?
on the river. He used to go, but there was a worm shop.
You ought to remember that, Joe, M&M Bake Shop right there
A bait shop.
at the four-way stop at McKelvey and the Rock Road. Right there by the Bayou Bell.
Uh-huh.
That bake shop was still there when,
Yeah, I think
on the
we're-
east side of the Bayou Bell parking lot was all those minnow, minnow lakes. Remember, they were just little bitty lakes, but the guy,
Well, the lady who replaced Mary Ann as Ed's bookkeeper, and is still his bookkeeper, and she's a CPA, and she has her office over in St. Charles, right near a boat landing ramp on the north side of St. Charles City,
Uh-huh.
and she still sells bait out of that same office.
Good for her.
Her proximity, and
CPA and fresh
yeah,
bait.
yeah.
cold worms. I used to work there, counted worms.
You did
I
what?
didn't know that. Counted worms.
Why would you have to count worms?
Because they came from Canada in big flats. And you had Canadian night crawlers had to stay in a cool environment. So it was like not a deep freeze, but pretty damn close to it. It was too cold to be into. You had to wear a coat. And we'd count them out, 12. You know,
To
there's several
sell, you mean?
thousand in a flat. And you had to count them out 12.
So you
to
just
about-
sell to people?
Yeah.
That was one of your many different jobs?
Oh, yeah.
Mark, you mentioned the Bayou Bell. You
Yeah,
have any
I was
other
thinking
thoughts
of
on Bayou Bell?
It came right past our house
On the old,
on Old Highway
old
40, yeah.
Highway 40.
Do you remember
As a
when?
matter of fact, it docked at our, that's as far as they pulled it,
Mm-hmm.
in the stacks. You know, it was on a set of dollies,
Okay.
and I remember the stacks were still on it, the flowered stacks.
Mm-hmm.
And they were as high as the driveway. When
That's
you
the
went
top of
up,
the
you
driveway.
know, they were still,
Uh-huh.
you could see them. As a matter of fact, there's pictures of it. And then,
Who has those pictures, do you know?
they're
Probably-
at Dad's house.
Probably in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I've asked Jenny, and it's the same.
But
answer I
those
got.
flowered stacks that were on there, it had twin stacks on the steamboat, and when they got to 270 and the Rock Road, they had to cut them off.
Oh,
You know, they wouldn't go under
Yeah,
the bridge.
right under the bridge.
But that thing docked at our house. On dry ground.
Did they serve
That was a
food?
big boat, boy.
Yeah.
That thing was huge.
They didn't serve you dinner while it was stopped there.
It was.
I think we ate there once. We were
I
good.
think I may have been in it one time too.
I don't think I ever was.
Jenny and I went there on our second date,
Really?
and once again later,
Yeah,
before it burned down.
yeah.
So what happened to it? There was a fire?
Yeah, typical
Fire
kitchen
the
fire.
kitchen.
Kitchen fire. I used to work at Brandy Hardware
No, really?
before we were married.
Really?
And I was good friends with Mrs. Brannicky, Elizabeth. And
Did she go by Betty, or was that a different Elizabeth?
no, it was
No, Elizabeth was Jack's mother.
Jack's
Okay,
mother, yeah.
okay.
And I knew
Uh,
Lyle. Yeah.
Wow.
Uncle, or Roy Brandt, they were cousins.
Oh.
Yeah.
We hope to interview many of their family, but we haven't yet, but we hope to.
Oh, that'd be nice.
We hope to.
And nice people.
Good.
Yeah, you need to go talk to Roy and Betty.
Yeah.
They're old inhabitants.
We will try to do that.
We're just gonna work our way down Layman Avenue, I think.
Yeah, you might as well.
We actually talked to a lady named Margie Tempe also last
I
year.
remember that name.
She lives on, it's not
Falcon.
Raymond.
She lives on Falcon. You know
Falcon.
Mike that works at the shop?
Yeah.
He practically across the street from him.
Probably not.
So let's get back to the Boenker farm. Now we talked to Jerry Hahn and Bernice. Were you friends with Jerry Hahn growing up?
We rode the school bus together.
Because you're sort of close in age, aren't you?
No, he's quite a bit older than I am.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think he's Jenny or Mary's age.
Oh, I guess you're right. Okay.
You know, and I may have been a freshman when he was a senior.
Okay. Because his father also, and grandfather, they also did farming, right?
Yeah, they were truck farmers.
Oh, that's right.
I never did any truck farming. I did grain farming, you know, large acreage. You know, you could truck farm on 10 or 15 acres, which is, I think them Hans had 50 or 60 acres up there between three brothers. And they had that, they all truck farmed it and made a living.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were related to Pilgrims. Did they have a house near there somewhere?
Yeah, well, Ray Pilgrim, I don't know, Pilgrims were on top of the hill.
They were.
Yeah, they were on the hill between her hill and
Yeah,
ours.
Spanish Village.
Right. And I really don't know, they were also farmers, but I
You
don't
know who might have
know a
had
lot
a
about
farm down on the, near, going towards the old highway bridge?
Do what?
Who would have had the acreage farm down near the old highway bridge?
Well, there were some other Hans that,
More
Farms.
homes down there, okay.
yeah, there was,
Was there any other families that you can remember? What was the ones that had the airport, Kratz?
Kratz Field.
Yeah,
I didn't, that was before my time. I
Okay.
remember the remains of that airfield.
yeah. But that
But
was
the
a farm.
Aldershans, they lived down in that
Aldershot,
area
okay,
too.
Okay.
But there was quite a few Hans that owned a lot of that ground also, and they were cousins to the ones up on top of the
Okay.
hill.
We need to revisit Jerry.
Yeah, there were two brothers that married two sisters.
Right.
And Bernice and Esther were the two sisters. And they were the Pilgrims. That was their maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's why Ray, I worked with Ray Pilgrim, and Ray worked for Del Hollenberg, the guy I worked for in high school. And he truck farmed also, and then he had time to help this other farmer that I worked for also. But he was there when I was there all the time. He always worked.
Now tell me, when did you move out here in Warren County?
1988, let's see, we were 75, moved in the barn after we were married. And then 13 years later, we came here. And we've been here 23 years.
Or how did you find this location or pick it out? I should say?
Actually, his cousin, Gary Boenker, had acquired a piece of property down the road from us. And by driving by, he saw the sign. And we were anxious to move somewhere where he could still shoot out the window. So, you know, it was just getting overpopulated around Bridgeton. And in 1988, we moved out here. We had that piano and about 3 boxes of clothing. That's about it. It was all on one trailer.
So you didn't have a bed, right? Because that was built in.
No.
Didn't you sleep in that alcove?
For a while we did,
Oh, I
but
thought that
after
was-
about 13 years, you know, you eventually get a bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a mattress on the floor. when
Yeah.
we were here. You start out small, but it's simple things in life are pretty nice.
Well, I remember when I moved into Bridgeton and Spanish Village, always rounding that corner and seeing, was it your uncle, Carl Boenker? Was he your uncle?
Great uncle.
That was my dad's uncle. So my great uncle. That was the last brother, the youngest brother of my dad's dad.
And I
How
remember,
many were in that family?
14, I think.
wow.
Yeah. And I used to take the kids down there to play. The
What?
2 older boys.
Why is that?
Well, we lived up in the barn, and when they were little, we'd just go down the hill and play in that lovely
Little
field there
flat piece of ground there.
with that little teeny tiny white house.
Yes.
And they had tulips in the spring. I'd bring the kids there to run up.
What
and down
was the
hills.
story of that teeny tiny house?
Oh,
That was an old filling station.
Really? The little house started as a filling station.
and then who
Because
moved
that was the
into it?
main road, right?
That was eastbound
Highway 40.
St. Charles Rock Road.
Right.
St. George
Dad used to have to go down to the quarry and come across Taussig to come back to his place until they made Old Highway 40 two ways. That was eastbound only.
Okay.
It was one way?
Yeah. St. Charles Rock Road split. There was a big island in the
Yeah.
middle, that's where the quarry was. And
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
you know, the eastbound was, hell, it was separated by almost a mile. There, about a half a mile distance between the two highways.
You can still see that road bed
Oh, yeah.
on aerial or satellite pictures. It's
Sure. Oh,
it's
yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to visualize, because I
It's
walked
it's
down there a
big,
couple of times. It's very
almond
hard.
shaped.
Right.
Before my son was born in '75, I used to walk down sometimes where the Spanish Village Park is, and then beyond, and there was a big field.
Yeah, that's those are some of the fields I used to farm.
And they used to have digs down there, I remember archaeological digs, people, they used to come in the summer and have a dig for about a week or two down there.
Yeah, there's still an old riverboat buried in the dirt down there.
Oh yes, the Montana.
I don't know.
No,
what-
that's right on the river. But you're talking about,
Well, the river wasn't always where it's at now. It used
Yeah.
to be on this side of the bluff. And the Corps of Engineers put it where it is now.
I remember that dig.
As a matter of fact, the water used to run right where Earth City is.
yeah.
The channel was
Oh, yeah.
where Earth City is. And just, I don't know, what the hell's the name of that? Well, Ram Stadium, directly between Ram Stadium and the Highway 70, there's still a patch of woods there. If you
Mhm.
ever notice it when you drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're headed west on 70, and if you know where Ram Stadium is,
Yes.
and if you look just to, that'd be looking northeast when there's still a patch of woods there, and that's where that
Riverboat?
riverboat is
Okay.
buried in there.
Why was it buried there? Why
They
did
ran aground and
they
they
just left
farmed
it?
around it for years and years, and it's supposedly still there.
That's
Yeah, that's
interesting.
low area. It's water. You see a lot of ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not
actually,
there.
it's in a bank,
Uh-huh.
and there's still woods there.
Yeah.
The timber is still there. They
You can
didn't
see it
never.
sticking out.
It's big timber woods.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you would like to add, recall about growing up with your parents or during the time you two were married there and you came over? Any other, what about the celebrations your dad had for the Navy guys?
Well, he was quite the party animal.
He enjoyed
He'd party at the drop of a hat.
social time. He
Yeah.
really did.
He liked all his friends. It was a party every day there that I can remember.
Yeah,
They
it
always
was.
had people there.
Beer in the back of the car. Your Uncle Pete would come up and dove hunt and have his beer in the back of the car. They never had air conditioning. I remember the kids all jumping in the stock tank to cool off before going to bed or whatever. And it was
I remember.
a fiasco.
We used to have to haul water. And, oh man, it was a hot summer day. And Christy had an appendicitis attack.
Oh my.
And there was like 9 kids yelling at Dad to fill that tank up before he took Christy to the hospital so we could go swimming while she was sick.
Oh.
And I think he filled that tank up before
Oh,
He
poor
took Christy.
Christy.
to the hospital.
Oh man.
But yeah, those were the days. They had to haul water to the cisterns because the only water you got was off the roofs. You know,
Mhm.
there was no deep wells like we got today.
So where would he haul water from?
The county had places you could fill tanks.
Oh.
The tanks that, well, we used to do the repair work on the truck that Al Waltz had. He was a water hauler. And it held 7,000 gallons, I think, and he'd haul it to your cistern.
When you go out to Howard Bend or someplace like that.
Actually, one of the water filling stations was right behind Dad's filling station, right there on the Rock Road.
Okay.
there's pictures of that pipe. Looking,
Okay.
and it was one of the, not only Hank Waltz filled there, but anyone else could give Dad a token, and then they could fill their tanks there too.
Was that for household use or was it
Oh yeah,
construction
that was
also?
all household use. That's the only thing they haul water for. Either that or feeding cattle. Some of them.
Okay. That didn't have anything to do with building 270 or?
No. No, Dad's filling station was right under where 270 is.
Now tell me about that,
Yeah.
this filling station.
I don't know enough about that either. How long do you have?
Well, I don't know too much about it either. I was pretty young, but it was
After the grocery
the
store.
grocery store to the filling station. That's why Dad sold it back to his brother-in-law. And then Dad ran the Shell station until 270 came in, which had to be in, was 270 after 70? It had to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was probably in the early 60s, and then Dad moved in underneath the house. Were we still working in there when you got married?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we had to be.
you had built the extension,
Right, well,
but you was.
originally we
original
worked under
site
the
was-
house,
Right, yeah.
and then we added that extension on the outside,
Mhm. And then the new shop.
and then I ran the old shop while Dad built the new shop.
Tell them about going down to the Shell station and drinking out of the soda.
Oh yeah, that, I remember having to get not my stomach pumped out, but they would make me drink soap water because the old mechanics would fill those little short nickel cokes up. I think they only held 6 ounces.
Oh, they fill it with oil?
No, they
Gas
put
line.
gas in.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
Just-
they put a fuel
Yeah,
pump on a car and they put a little bit in the carburetor, well then there was still some in there. So as a little kid, I'd see a half a soda bottle, I'd walk up to it and down that gasoline.
Ooh.
It was good.
Oh.
And then I'd come coughing up to Dad, he'd call Doc Hanging, and he'd say, just give him a little soapy water, he'll be alright. You'd puke that up. Or else it would dilute it. I don't know. I've been going ever since.
You're nice and cleaned out inside, look at that.
Oh.
So he owned a gas station.
Well, he didn't own it, it was his father's. It was his father's ground, and the Shell Oil Company put the station up, but they gave Dad's dad first rights to run it. Because it was on his ground, and Dad took the offer. And I think that's when Dad went to Rankin Tech. No, he went to Carter Carburetor and learned about carburation and,
Okay. Yeah, you went to
And-
Rankin before you went into service.
Yeah.
yeah, because he learned how to be a stationary engineer
Yeah.
at Rankin. But then he went to Carter Carburetor and they taught electrical,
Yeah.
starters, and generators, and then carburetors.
Carburation, obviously.
Right. And he did
Was
that.
that
right,
over
and
on
then
Page then, or was that still down in the city?
I imagine it was down.
Grand and Natural Bridge,
I really don't know where Carter Carburetor was.
Fairgrounds Park, right by the old Cardinals ball stadium.
Mhm.
But he took up that trade, and then he also learned how to weld
Uh-huh.
while he was in the automotive business, and he did portable welding. And I have still got his first original portable welder. It's on my service truck right now.
Well, Mark, we're down to about the last 5 or so minutes on the camera. But speaking of welding, could you tell us about the job you did for Washington University?
Ah,
Yeah, the
a friend of yours with the
friend-
stonemason.
a friend of ours does all of the stone masonry work at
Washington University.
Washington University.
Jobs.
And a pole truck came through they had to put a new light post inside of the stadium, is it, I guess? But that thing,
What's on top of that? St. Francis Field.
Yeah, it's Francis Field now.
Francis Field.
It was
anyway,
built for the World's Fair.
yeah. And
Right.
a service truck for UE went through it and had a pole on top of the truck and hit that archway with the pole and bent it and pulled it out of the bricks.
So it wasn't just aging, it was actually,
No.
It was damaged.
okay.
No, it was in good shape. Hell, it was
Mhm.
good material.
Was that wrought iron or cast iron?
No, it was all cast steel. It was,
Cast steel.
yeah, because it was weldable. I
Oh.
re-welded it, took it down, re-welded it, sandblasted. They wanted me to clean it up while it was down, and we put it back up.
Yeah, it's quite a piece of history. That was the
Yeah, yeah. it
Yeah, that
was.
thing was
first
heavy.
modern Olympics right there.
Right,
Yeah, we've also got pictures of that.
yeah.
It was a 22-foot archway because it fit on my trailer. We made
Uh-huh.
a bracket to hold it in position while we took it back down there and restood it.
And I got to hand paint the emblem that they had, you know, with the Latin underneath, and I don't remember what it said, but we used to make fun about.
Yeah, we made a lot of fun about it.
What?
But it is.
We're
what
mindless
it
with it.
says in on those tablets, there was a set of tablets
Yeah, it's like a book opened up.
Yeah,
with
with
somebody's hands holding
Some
them.
short Latin phrase.
Mm-hmm. I think ducks was in the joke. I can't remember. Undok. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, it was fun to be able to venture to the city and
Yeah.
use his talents. It was
And your
great.
dad was somehow connected with that too, wasn't
He went to
he?
WashU,
Yeah,
and he came along with us because it, you know, it was a little highlight.
yeah.
And you know, you bring the old folks along to, you know, get a taste of the city life and what we're doing.
Well, I really thank you for letting us come over,
You're
taking
welcome.
time and talking to us. And if you think of anything you think that would, you'd like to add to this interview, Joe can, maybe add it into the file, or if you find.
Well, what is this gonna be, a book or?
We don't quite know yet. We don't know.
Well, at least the video that we're making now will be on a DVD that
Uh-huh.
will be playable.
Oh, that's
Right,
nice.
so-
We
And we'll get
don't,
we'll get your copy of that.
Oh,
we
okay.
don't know what kind of format or whatever, but we just felt that it was very important to start doing this now.
Yes.
Like you said, your father's gone,
Yeah.
Carl Banker's gone,
Right.
people, I think there's been a couple of people that died since they were interviewed, just, you know, maybe
Mhm.
within.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you interviewed Dad.
Yeah.
No, not really,
Well, no, not really.
no, they didn't get on the ball and do that.
How about his sister?
We're doing Aunt Jane and Uncle Sherman a week from today. At the
Very
farm.
good.
Yeah,
Ask
'cause,
her.
I mean, she's a wealth of knowledge.
Yes, and she's so witty. Ask her about the grape vineyard that used to be where the barn is now. It was
Okay.
all, that whole hill was,
Wasn't
was
what the
all
barn
right.
is.
well, below the barn.
No, it was up on the highest part of the hill.
Oh, past the barn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also, she sold, the grandpa was still
Fruits and vegetables.
truck farming.
Uh-huh.
Dad had the filling station, and he had a vegetable stand out in front of the filling station.
And Aunt Jane
And
used
Jane
to
used to
sell the wares.
sell vegetables and fruit there.
Okay, well, we have some good questions
Yes,
for Aunt
definitely
Jane for
ask
next
her
week.
about that. She's got a lot
Okay,
of wealth of knowledge.
okay, well, thank you both very much.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.